Hey, it's Shaves, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 9/11. Sorry. I'm so bad. It's September 11th to the 18th of September. It's a regular day like anything else. In this first video, look, I'm sorry. I really hate to do this. This is a patron, and I like to think a close friend, few like, online friends that I've actually met IRL, and I really like his videos. Clear as Feet video is not good. I'm so sorry, and especially because like you also posted how it's performing, and I'm just like, oh no. Look, I really want to be honest and just try like shoot straight. I don't want to just not cover the video, and I don't want to lie to your face, right? I really finished the video and it's like it wasn't what I think. I don't think it worked. Please, okay. Anime baseball episodes, filler at its finest. I really love this concept. I was really excited about it. I did not know this was the angle you were going to take it as. The first thing, it's just like baseball is bad. And I'm like, you're just kidding, right? Oh, no, you were like really adamant that no, it's a terrible fucking sport. And you don't necessarily dig into why baseball specifically. I think you kind of try to psychoanalyze it for like what it's good for, where like the players, you have a bunch of, it requires 9 people per team, so you could just have the whole cast show up, like that sort of thing, like rationalizing it. And not rationalizing how baseball is a really popular sport. You mention it, you kind of hand wave it, because it isn't simply that it's popular in Japan. There's a lot of media, a lot of baseball manga and baseball anime, like a ton. The first long-running narrative, like manga adaptation, like straight manga adaptation, like adapted it pretty, as far as we know, closely. I would like to look at it closely myself. Is Kyojin no Hoshi, like the first baseball anime, and that is such a big deal. And so many of these baseball episodes that you're talking about are taking from Kyojin no Hoshi specifically, because Kyojin no Hoshi, being directed by Tadao Nakahama, which you give a little erasure to. I'm sorry, I'm not letting you get away with that. I love that you are praising Dazaki as like, anime before Dazaki was like hell or something. But Tadao Nakahama is kind of an OG. The dude directed not just Kyojin no Hoshi, Gutsy Frog, he has an entire robot romance trilogy named after him, and he directed the first half of Rosa Versailles, which is what you were showing on screen. Like, I was like, are you gonna mention him? Is this going there? And it didn't. I was like, so it was really like watching a train. We're like, it's going by, and then you see it crash right before it goes by. You're like, what? It wasn't like the worst. I didn't take a extraneous bunch of notes. I'm not gonna pick apart this video because I was watching it the whole time, kind of as just like I'm watching a video from Clearansweet. Hell yeah, I'm enjoying it on a moment to moment basis. And that's as much as and that's why I was like, this video's still decent. I like wow, the editor, it is edited pretty well. Although, let me just check the description again. You didn't credit your editor. I kind of could tell that it was a different person. It has so many really neat transitions, and obviously using that much B footage of just like all these different anime using baseball as an episode, as a structure or whatever. It was edited really well. It really was. And so it was like a moment to moment, like, this is nice. Although I don't know who your editor is. It's not in the description. I didn't see it in the video. I could have missed it. I would have liked to know that. And I don't know, just it's not a big deal. It really isn't. I was just noticing it. But yeah, like, it was entertaining and enjoyable on a moment to moment basis. But like, I'm not gonna totally vibe with a video where you just kind of shit on an entire sport. I kind of need like reasons, and there were reasons. You give enough reasons, but it's like there was enough flippancy, and like, I don't know. I haven't played the sport, and you're kind of like criticizing it. It's like they're not even like judged on certain field sizes, and they're not even consistent. Not like I've played baseball or anything, but to your point about like the different field sizes, it doesn't matter much because it's like the idea is that it went out of the park, that it went so far like they couldn't handle. That's what the rule is, so it doesn't totally matter with the space. Anyway, as someone who's enjoyed a lot of baseball anime, which that's another thing. It was a subtle thing with the editing. There was some moments of I saw mix in there at one point, and there was maybe some other titles. I don't, I don't look into each of these, but like there could have been instances here which it was canon. Like they played baseball, and it's not like a filler episode. So your argument of like baseball as filler, Oh, Assassination Classroom, that was one of them. I'm not familiar with the manga, but like to my knowledge, that's a pretty faithful adaptation. I don't remember it being super majorly filler centric. So like to my knowledge, that baseball arc, that's in the manga, So it's like, why do they use that particular sport? And I get it, you still kind of going through that. And I think the analysis itself was fine, and I didn't have much problem with that. I guess it was really just the totally shitting on baseball as an entire sport. And soccer. And look, you don't have to like these sports. That's fine. I feel like you could have put your feeling about that on the side, and like I don't know, but like your entire argument was hinging on your subjective opinion that it's bad, and obviously it's kind of for comedic effect that you're saying it in such a objective, matter-of-fact way that like we all agree it's shit, right? And I'm watching this video, I'm like, I don't think that. I've watched One Outs. I've watched Touch. I don't think it's shit. I don't think baseball is shit. I don't. I'm sorry. But yeah, like what I was saying with Kyoji no Hoshi, I'm sorry about you around a bunch, and I didn't take notes. But like Kyoji no Hoshi is kind of known for having a lot of experimental techniques. So all the like kind of lavish, extravagant animation, yes, it is a kind of a interesting paradox, or like a irony, I guess, that baseball is animated in such a lavish, over the top way in comparison to baseball, which is kind of a bore to watch as a live sport or something. And like the games they go by so slow, et cetera, et cetera. And like, yeah, I think that's just any fiction. I think that is just a lot of things in the world are boring in the real world, and fiction elevates it. Like in the case with sports, you can skip innings, you can kind of fast forward, you can make things a little hyperbolized, not just with the hitting and stuff, but like I think it's Naisho. I think it's the Doremi Naisho episode where the game, like at one point the opposing team gets like 1,000,000 points or something like that. Like it's exaggerated, and I feel like that's just a fiction. I'm sorry, I don't know, not to belittle your point. I guess I am, but yeah, there was just a lot of holes to what you're saying that to me were just like, yeah. And then I was more at the stew on it. I'm just like, no, it's yeah. And the other thing to me that I felt was missing from this video that could have been here, that is, obviously I'm trying to parse what is my misplaced expectation, what I thought the video was going to be when I heard about it versus the execution. I'm trying to take the execution as what it is, right? I think even in this particular instance, the result here, I do feel like you could have leaned into some examples, like give the particular, like in Champloo, it's just inexplicably suddenly baseball, even though it wasn't invented till this year or whatever. And what does that episode do with baseball that learns us something about the characters? It just having one like stated example of like in this show, in this episode of this at this point, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like the arguments you were making, yes, some of them are like just being displayed as you're talking about them, but I've made this point in, I think, in talking about other videos. I've realized this with my own video about Zelda and Ghibli, and in giving feedback to other people who've sent me their scripts or whatever. The script gets way better when you give concrete examples. And I'm just a big fan of, I'm just like a big sucker for that now. So I'm just like looking for those of like, give me a specific, give me in this show when they do baseball, what are you talking about? I think that just substantiates your point a lot better. I don't feel, maybe again, it was just one watch. I could have rewatched it. It'd be like, it was towards the end where I'm like, did Kai ever actually specify or talk about one of these shows. Not really. They were kind of B-roll the entire time. My misplaced expectation was that you were going to talk about shows like that in that way the entire time, and just kind of like a listicle or something. And you mentioned, and we were briefly talking about it in my chat in my Discord, where it's like, oh, I don't want to anime encyclopedia this. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely get it. Like, there's also a baseball episode in this show, and then there's a baseball episode in this show. Like, yeah, like listing them off like very flaccidly. At least they wouldn't have the disrespect of like calling baseball a shit sport, you know? You know, and it was similar, where it reminded me with like when you said that, and I had already watched the video and how much I knew how much like baseball sucks, and I'm just watching it, I'm just like, that is kind of what like I have I'm feeling that contempt from them about sports, or just like it's all training montages and tragic coaches and rivalries and everything's aimed for the ace, and it's like you know. But the generalization leading into contempt, it was like the video kind of felt like that a little, with not, you know, in the way that you were so adamant that baseball sucks. And again, you can have that opinion, but it was just the way that you expressed it, of like, it sucks. We know that, right? I don't have to explain. I don't have to defend my argument or anything. We know it sucks. Like, no. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I thought it was not good, and I'm so sorry. I don't, you know, hard to do it. Had to give it to him. I hope I was able to explain it. It makes sense. Yeah. And I'm sorry I couldn't just talk about your other video that actually popped off and was actually in more of your wheelhouse that you don't hate, like your analysis of the Madoka trailer. Except that one was an hour, and I don't have that much attachment to Madoka, so I was just like, I'm okay, actually. I'm so sorry. So I'm sorry. I just need to be honest to myself, because otherwise I'm like, I'm lying to a good friend. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I need to say it with my chest. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Fuck. Anyway, I you know, love you, bro. All right, now for some videos I thought were decent. They're pretty good. And this first was from whimsydearest, talking about the One Piece live action season 1. It's cool that you can just say season 1 now, isn't it? And like, oh, interesting. Yeah. And this was fun because like I don't click on too many of your videos, unfortunately. There's you know, I don't know, it's just always with your stuff at the moment, it's like the topic that interests me. And I'm just like, oh, and obviously coming from your perspective, of course. But it's sort of, I'm at that stage with your stuff. But this one especially was interesting to me, not just as like, I'm just interested in One Piece live action, but also I don't know, I got the vibe that like you would be mostly on camera. And I don't feel like I've watched too many of your videos that have been mostly you on camera, which you probably have a ton of, and I just haven't clicked on. So I was just like, oh, I want to check that out. Because it's just seeing your like on-screen presence and what you have in your set and everything like that. That's been like interesting to me. Not just as what I've talked about on Digest with like seeing a face being more, you're able to kind of get what they're saying, I guess. But also just my curiosity, because I'm intending to make a video like this that's me on camera, a very dedicated, scripted, not even like, it will not look like this, is what I'm saying. So it's like something I'm looking at and considered, like, what do they do? How do they set things up, and how do they, whatever. So your set, like, you know, everything that was really nice, and I think you've seemed very practiced of engaging with an audience on camera and everything. But I just really liked your enthusiasm for the first season, and particularly your focus, where I think you only talked about Nami and all of the villains. You just kind of like really hyper focused on each of the villains, which I thought was really interesting, and a fun focus, a refreshing focus too, because everyone talks about Luffy or you know, and the other characters like that, and or even just like the 5 main characters, like the crew, and then the villains is kind of a basket almost. But then it was very character by character, which I really like. Oh, and also that like I clicked on the video. I don't know. I always make the assumption that people have seen One Piece just because of how big it is, and they're like, "This is my first time experiencing it in any capacity." I'm like, "Ooh, great." I don't know if you mentioned in the video, I forget, of whether you were now this got you interested in watching the movie, not the movie, in the anime or the manga. I hope so. I'm curious at most about how much this converts fans. Creates new fans basically, because that was really what the author Oda really wanted with this project. It's just that he felt like it was the last chance or the best chance to really get it out there for more people to experience, even though it is the highest grossing manga of all time, and it is, one of the longest running and well regarded anime, at least, from a critical standpoint, not like from necessarily from a fan standpoint. And God, I want to push back on that so badly. I'm just starting to really feel it about this fucking like, yeah, my sucks balls, like, oh, like. I'm wondering if that's converted you into a fan, or if you're just gonna stick with the live action or something. I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed the video. It was fun. Thank you. Great. Dakota Broskie. I thought you were tired. Welcome back. Hello, hello. Actually, I am way beyond late on that, probably because you did put out a video a month ago and then one 6 months ago, and I don't remember exactly when. I remember you made that post about like wanting to move on from YouTube and stuff. But I guess I had to make it focus on it. Sorry, but I was interested. Gamer girls in anime are just cute. 30 minutes of just talking about mainly focusing on MMO Junkie. What's the name of the one of like? There's no way this girl plays games, or I forget the name of it. I'm sorry. It's one of those. I rarely ever hear about that one. It is just sort of like a lot of people kind of dismiss it, I think. But I was happy that you kind of engaged with it on a critical and like substantive level. And then obviously talk about Beaufry for like mostly half the video, which kind of I think was what bloated it really. Now that I don't know if bloat's really maybe that's a mean way to put it. I think there's just a lot to it, and it's just like I don't think it was necessarily broad. Like I don't know. I guess when I was clicking on this, I was sort of more looking for something thorough in terms of like a lot of different examples and more of a synthesis of it, almost like clearandsweet's video on Facebook, almost. But instead, you were just like, here's 3 of this category of gamer girls, and I did like the connection you made with the 3 of them, where Beaufry's kind of the sweet spot or the best of both worlds, where MMO Junkie mostly focuses on the gamer aspect. It's not as cute really, and then the other one, which is like the gamer girlfriend, is way more kind of flirty and cutesy, but not so much about the game exactly. And then Beaufry just has this really nice balance of like it's pretty much entirely about the game, but a lot of cute girls. Yay! So yeah, I think that was a nice observation, like a synthesis with the 3 of them, I guess. But it wasn't necessarily aiming for going something like research based or etymology or something like that. Not like I expect or need that from every video. I think that you bring enough of your charisma and enthusiasm on screen. Again, this is like a on camera type of video, and I think that was a good structure and kept my attention. It really did. I think that like another video like this, not necessarily from you, but just like in general, because I don't necessarily have this same attachment. I've not seen any of these 3 shows. I feel like if it was just anime footage, I would have been, casually, but I don't know if I would have much to say about it. But I think you being on screen and having your sense of humor, not just on screen, but also like the editing presence you have, the editing you have that you give, that, I feel like after working with Sidnap for a while, right, kind of has that like memey and I don't know, spontaneous and fun, kind of awkward occasionally, but like yeah, I don't know, really funny comedy throughout it. But then yeah, I think you just had like a good spine just being mostly on camera. I think that was really smart. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it as a casual kind of watch. It's like, yeah, there's shows I've never really engaged with, that I think, and obviously treating them with some sort of reverence and respect and admiration. Really, it was, and even when you have this like criticism of, you have to kind of take these shows with some suspension of disbelief, where they're playing these massive multiplayer online games, and yet the people they meet just so happen to be the people in their real life. Like the convenience store clerk just happens to be a side character that in the game, that sort of thing. Which is a very funny convenience. But it makes sense for the set in the sense of this narrative or whatever. But I guess it's like, yeah, if you play these games, if you're a fan of like RuneScape or WoW or whatever, which I'm also not. I've also not really engaged with those kinds of games. But yeah, it's like, even when you have those criticisms, you're not being like, show worse because of it's worse. It's bad, you know. I feel like a lot of criticism comes off that way to me. I don't know if it's just me being sensitive to criticism. I think it is. I definitely think there's probably an aspect of that. Um, but yeah, I like that in spite of having that, it felt like even-handed, I guess. And ultimately, it felt like you were a fan of these three shows in different capacities and in different angles and stuff. Different angles. Yeah, I enjoyed the video a lot. Yeah, it was a good time. And I finally watched another KaiserBeamz video, of specifically a Kyoto video of his, because I've made my perspective that, like, I think his Looney Tunes stuff was like cream of the crop. Like, I could watch the shit out of that. But for some reason, the anime stuff always feels superfluous. I don't know. I really don't know. There's something in where it's just like, when he starts with like, Eiichiro Oda was born in this year, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, it feels like he has to have that sort of like etymology to it that feels very tedious to me. And having really meticulously going through all that, when there probably might not be that much to this particular OVA. And that is pretty much the case with this one. The vast majority of the info was stuff that I kind of already knew about from a cursory lookup of the One Piece OVA. I didn't get a whole lot of substantive information. I didn't learn about like, oh, it was made in this capacity, or by this character designer or whatever. I like that he went into certain names, of course. He's crediting Goro Taniguchi, he's crediting the voice actors, and but I think what was really enjoyable about this video is that he prefaced it with being a One Piece fan and how he got into it. That was really like, for me, okay, I can watch. A lot of other Kyoto videos for me, I don't quite know where he's going to be approaching it. I don't know if it's just going to be like really critical, like opinionated or something, and not having much exposure to the source material beyond the OVA that he's talking about. I feel like there's just something about his approach oftentimes that it's just like, it just doesn't quite work for me, I guess. This was as much as like, due diligence as he's doing, and the scripting is fine. And again, I think his craft is good. Again, specifically with maybe something that I don't have any like hang-ups or own personal experience, and I make anime videos, so seeing another person making an anime video, it's a particular perspective. But if I'm seeing him make a Looney Tunes video, I might have those hang-ups and these certain feelings if I was a Looney Tunes fan and I already knew a lot of this stuff, maybe. But I don't. I'm not a fan. So all of the stuff that he talks about and the way that he talks about it was like perfect for me. Yeah, just maybe that's why. But like, I think what really helped this video is that he's prefacing that he's a One Piece fan, and that just means that, like, okay, even if he's like weird about it or have some like hang-ups or something, or has his own little nitpicks or qualms, or like the way he talks about it, it's like, yeah, he likes One Piece as a general thing and like likes the anime line. I like that he didn't delve into problems with the anime or the manga or something like that. It was really just, I really like One Piece. I'm this as a One Piece fan, and then going into like approaching and giving it the credit and appreciation it deserves, I guess, which I really liked. I think, and so having that framing and that like with it really allowed me to like, it didn't feel like a weight over. It's like, how is he going to think about this, or like, how is he approaching this, basically. Yeah, I just thought all of that was like really nice. That allowed me to really enjoy the rest of the video. And yeah, I guess that means that like the stuff that he what does he have to like everything every time? Well, to me, it's tough because like I would prefer if someone is coming out of a place of respect, and it's I know from my own experience, it's easier to respect something if you like it than if you don't like it. Then it's kind of really tempting to just take a giant just kick it and to like take a giant shit on it or whatever and just be very deprecating. It's so tempting and easy to do that, for me at least. And that's not treating it with respect. So that's why I try to avoid talking about titles that I have kind of an edge with, that I don't fully get or understand. I think it was probably the case with my Gurren Lagann video. I don't know how true it was. It was, I think, mostly true. But my Tomino section, I still made that. I made that before I rewatched Zeta, which I still haven't rewatched Zeta. That was and Zeta is still a series that I have as a meh, or as like a mediocre. Like I don't really like Zeta that much, and that's a pretty minority opinion. And I think I would actually really like Zeta once I rewatch it as a now I'm a Tomino fan. That was before I watched Gainer, and it really clicked for me of his particular sense of writing and humor and pathos, I guess. And that allowed me to love Ideon and pretty much like every single thing he's made since. Pretty much I'm basically I'm a Tomino fan. But I think in my Gurren Lagann video, I kind of maybe subconsciously, but I feel like I pretty much avoided showing or using Zeta Gundam as any demonstration of his stuff. I would mostly be clipping stuff that I enjoy as a fan: Zabungle, Elgheim, Gundam, Zambot. I focused on those particular things that I was like, I can say that this is a great Ideon, that I confirm and demonstrate that, because I don't want to show Zeta or kind of let seep that I don't think Zeta's very good. But that's because like I watched it at the time, and at the time I was very frustrated with it. That's the whole thing. But it'd be the same thing of like trying to make a Utena TV series video, because I vastly prefer the movie and I don't think the series is all that great, right? And so like there's certain qualms that I have, so I try to avoid making those kinds of videos. And I don't, and so, but obviously I'm not trying to dictate how other people should make videos. Obviously not. I'm not saying like Kaiser needs to do that or whatever. I'm saying that like that's just my perspective, I guess. I guess, and so yeah, that's just where I'm coming from, I guess. I don't know. I forget where I was going with that. Editing me is gonna be so pissed. We're like, you were gonna build it to this point, and sorry. I don't know. Yeah, but that's just my perspective. I did really like this video, precisely for those like, okay, he's a One Piece fan, cool. All right, now we'll go with the best videos of the week. What I thought were the best videos of the week: BobSamurai, Sayuki, Beginner's Guide, complete anime. It felt really like out of left field that for this series of all things, but that's fine. I'm not complaining, and I like that this is a franchise that he can really sink his teeth into and tackle to really explain, because it does have a lot of side OVAs and small things. I worked on this title for Discotech Media, all the different OVAs and stuff like that, and it's my job to watch it really. I just did the chapters and stuff, so I just had to do like find the eye catch in the middle, and that's not really, but I could, from scrolling and looking through all that, it's just like, yeah, this feels like this kind of meandering piecemeal, what is this thing, what is it, right? So I really like that he approached it and talked about it in such a way that was really constructive, in ways that's like, I was expecting this, but really this is what it does. This is the kind of thing it is. One of the best things he says is that like people who are saying this is an adaptation of Journey to the West really need to reconsider. Like really need to like acknowledge, explain what it is. It's literally a parody of a parody. Like it's so removed, but it still uses Sayuki, and it still like uses the names and everything, and you can kind of like, if you squint, it looks like a Journey to the West thing, but it's so different from those. And especially when it's like for a particular demographic and a certain audience, you can't necessarily say that Journey to the West fans, if you like Journey to the West, watch this show. Yeah, I don't know how much you're gonna like it, right? And I feel like maybe that's what, maybe the way Bob got into it, maybe it was just like familiar with Sayuki or with the with like Journey to the West type of stuff, and maybe that's how he was like, let's just jump into this. And he's like, oh, is not what I was expecting at all. And so like he's coming from that perspective of like, I'm making the video that I would have wanted to see, jumping into like having never no experience with it. Like, what am I to expect, and how should I watch this sort of thing? And just being like, what is this 2017 series? Is it a sequel? Is it a what? What is it really? Because it's very a smattering of different things, you know. I will say one thing that I feel like would have helped the video. I was sort of waiting for the text to show up of like, I forget what it was particularly, but there was moments where I was like, yeah, like it's one thing to have like the title at the bottom just to like introduce it at the very start, but I feel like if you were showing a lot of different like, this is reload, this is gunlock, this is the OVA, and you're kind of bouncing a lot all over the place. If there was some way that you can designate and just have the text in like the corner, like the whole time, just to show that this footage is from what it is, I think that would have helped, because especially in this context of it being like understanding each of the entries and being a watch order kind of comprehensive beginner's guide. You know what I mean? I feel like that would have helped with it maybe. And I forget there was a particular the particular moment. I forget what it was if I had to go back. But there were certain things where I was just like, okay, so wait, is this from this other thing, or how does it stack, or how is it? Oh yeah, it was sort of like you were going like this, then this, then this. I feel like you show the text at the end, like here's the watch order. I feel like if it showed up, maybe even not even on screen the whole time, but if it kind of showed up briefly and you added one, like next is this entry, so you see the previous entry and you see this one, and then it fades away, and then you're talking about it, whatever. But then when you do the next one, here's the third, here's where we are in that. So if you've done these two, here's the third one that appears, that sort of thing. I feel like if something like that to kind of help more visually string it along. Otherwise, it's sort of like, how many of them are there? I don't know. There's like a aimlessness for the viewer. I'm like, I'm not sure where I am. I have no prior knowledge or experience with this title. I don't know how many there are. I don't know. Maybe it's not the hugest deal, but it was just something I was thinking about, where it's like, I'm a little lost on where the stuff is here, or just how many different ones there are, I guess. Obviously you still have it at the end, and generally it's in the best category, really, because again, Bob's approach here and his tact of like, he's like, this is not for me, but I enjoyed it for these particular aspects, and he's just finding, really just understanding it. And, you know, the whole ethos here is just something I really stand behind, and want to portray in my own videos, really. But yeah, you know, or I just could do a geeking out of just like how cute this show is or something. I also have that vibe. I also have that desire. But this sort of stuff is obviously the stuff I mainly want to see from Anime YouTube. Is some of the best stuff on here. Seriously, thank you for making it. Seriously. And we have two juggernauts at the end here. That was the reason it took me so long to finally finish to start recording. The first one is 2.5 hour Sarah Moon video for fans by fans, anime in the West. And I will tell you, I think this was this felt most inspired by ContraPoints, where you have multiple personas, you have the kind of performative thing, intercutting with analysis and data, and tying it to your own personal experience as a localizer, everything about it, and obviously the sets and the costumes. It's all of what they could and obviously the length I think also plays into that a little bit too. And I love me some ContraPoints. Okay, you know, and I don't want to obviously also say that to be like, oh, it's no ContraPoints, right? Or it's like a ContraPoints ripoff or something. Absolutely not. I mean, if you're gonna take from anybody, it's like, hell yeah, one of the leading and kind of the best creators we have right now. All right, maybe you have no idea who that is. I think that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a titan of a video, and I'll say at the bat, I think I like that. I really like that. Obviously, it wouldn't be the same without it being this long in the way it is. It just felt like 3 videos in one. when you click on the video, for me, I was kind of expecting it to be the history, and you kind of frame the history almost as like I need to do this in order to get to the actual video. And it's only 45 minutes. Only 45 minutes. It's a lot. It's still a lot. It's 45 minutes of the beginning of the video of talking about the actual history. And thankfully, it's not the history that I am interested in exploring, that I'm helping to explore. I'm sorry to be so cryptic. Anyway, it was mostly from the perspective of fans and talking about fan translations. And frankly, it wasn't too much of new information we haven't heard before. It didn't feel as substantive to me. And I don't, thinking about the whole crux, the whole video, I don't know how necessary it was. I can kind of see where you're coming from, but given the focus of the video as it goes on, which is the other two pieces really, as well as the skits, and it shows in the thumbnail here, there's this whole plot. There's a whole kind of a story going on where she plays multiple characters. She plays a younger version of herself from the 90s that was super wide-eyed and naive and innocent about this whole stuff. And she also plays an alternate persona of maybe someone who didn't get into the industry professionally and kind of became just like her own personality and fan and everything, that is super hung up on localizations. And she's creating kind of a shitty persona of like a toxic fan or whatever. And she even has another persona later in the video that's not represented in the thumbnail, or maybe it is that third person and not necessarily her. It might be, but she doesn't have the same hat. But she's wearing a hat, and it's her from like the 2040s, where it's the apocalypse. She kind of lets the mask, not mask slip really, but it's just sort of leaning her intentions of like, yeah, global warming, we're all gonna die. Great Depression, and all of us are 20 people sharing one room type of thing, being very doomer about the future. And like and maybe it's not really her true feelings, it's obviously like hyperbolized and played up a little, but she really makes some actual calls of like by 2026 AI will have mostly replaced translators. Like she's making some hard calls about some years, and it's like, that'll be interesting to see if that how much that pans out. But yeah, the kind of towards the last third is a focus on AI, and that could have been its own video as well. So what I'm saying with it's a three-pronged video, and she's able to kind of rationalize and link the three together. But ultimately, it feels like this could have been three videos, separate videos, a history of things in the wet, right? Which would be fine, but it just didn't have necessarily a purpose or a context for, which I think it gives that purpose. But again, I don't know how fully necessary it was. The AI part, which is its own video, is, I think, talking about its use and this is how you do it and everything. And the part I've been dancing around, the second part, which is, I think, the biggest part of the video and easily the best part, is this survey she did with 150 localizers and giving the data. A lot of percentage pies and testimonials voiced by various people about their experience working as a localizer, or anyone at ADR and all these different positions, of course, that are involved with localization. That was easily the most interesting and substantive part, because not just that it was from you, or like, oh, I'd rather hear from other people. Not like that. Obviously, it was you that chose to create the survey and present it, but you're also giving your own experience as well. And that's super powerful. I really loved how you went so far as to show where you work and how you sit on the couch and exactly what position you're in, and you talk about your process, and you're not giving any specifics or any, like, what titles you're working on, although you do point to a playlist where you like live did it, a light novel, like on a separate channel, like as a playlist of videos. That kind of project is exactly what I've been working on this channel, live streaming, reading this entire book. And inevitably turn into a final video. And the idea is that it links to the whole playlist of us reading through it and everything. Not like all of it, not all of it out loud. Good Lord, no. No, it's just reporting my findings basically. Anyway, this is a similar idea, and I was like, oh, I relate to that a lot. But like, your personal experience, like really directly, being sharing a lot of personal details, being very candid, talking about the pay, talking about the harassment of fans, talking about the difficulties and the industry's perspective and prospects of the future and everything like that. I think everything that had to do with that survey, every time it was brought up, was so fascinating and valuable and interesting. And not to say that the video was worse or like not, but I guess I kind of am saying that, that like anytime that it wasn't that, was fine. I certainly thought the creativity you demonstrate with the costumes and certainly the humor you inject everywhere, and the skits and everything like that, and the fourth wall breaking. There's so much of this. There's so much thought and substance put in here. It's really overwhelming almost, and feels like a very double feature length, 2 hour 28-minute behemoth. But to me, I couldn't shake the feeling that like this is 3 videos stitched together. To me, that is what it is. And obviously, it also felt something kind of like a apotheosis. I don't know if that's really the word. I don't know. It just felt like a culmination. That's probably a word for it. A culmination of your entire channel and what you talk about and everything. And so it's sort of like it's tricky to make some of that like that because it's super cathartic and valuable. But where do you go from there? I think at one point you make that statement of like, I look at those videos that I made about translations that fans have problems with, and I'm like, why make them? Because they're not going to be listened. No one's going to. These people that I want to reach out to are not going to engage with it at all because they're just going to assume I'm a plant or just like or whatever. Have your thoughts about it. But yeah, I think that's just the one concern I'd have. Is just like, okay, where do you go from here? Where's it going forward? I guess. But yeah, I mean, this is a surprise, like, incredible work of accomplishment, work of art. And very, very impressive. Yeah, I guess this is the most I have to say about it. And I'm sorry if all I can say about the testimonials and data is that it was interesting and like really valuable and stuff. I didn't take the particular notes and everything, but again, I mean, and obviously a lot of it was stuff that I can relate to as someone who's working in this industry as well. Maybe not in localization, but in adjacent field, right? And the idea also with like not being paid for IP research hit me particularly well. I think it's just this like, yeah, it wouldn't be paid for that, yeah. And obviously the grand economy that we're feeling, where a lot of people in all industries are feeling that like they have to put in work that they're not going to be paid for because I don't know. I think I have the personal suspicion that the companies actually do not have that money. And they are, I don't know. I really wonder about that, and that we're kind of like on a teetering bridge. We're like all these labor unions are pushing and protesting now, and it's gonna keep going and going and going until we realize, oh, you don't actually have that money that you've been reporting, do you? Oh no! And then the like catastrophic losses. There was one point when I want to make point that like Red Bard. You kind of let Red Bard take care of the industry bubble part of the industry history, and I don't. That was kind of annoying to me, and I obviously don't really want to dig too deep in because it was really much just Red Bard's section that I think she took entirely of. It wasn't really from you at all, which is weird and okay. But I would have mentioned in that like she gave this like absurd and long-winded what if scenario about like, what if you don't want to pay for anime? Like, what are your options to watch anime? And she just like gives all the negative, all like the potential bad reasons for every single thing and just making it look like piracy is the best possible option when it really is as easy as it's free. It doesn't matter how, look, inflation and look how much price you have to pay for that. Like, sure. But even if the fucking thing was $10, piracy is still free. Like, it's still, I'm sorry, you can't be. And then it was a weird timey-wimey thing where she's like, streaming wasn't a thing yet, but then she's just talking about Crunchyroll and YouTube. Yeah, okay. Or like Anime Play, whatever it was. That was just weird. It was just weird scripting things. But obviously, it's not really her video, right? So it's like, I don't really mind. I don't think it takes away from this video at all, really. But the thing she was mentioning of like, it wasn't a sustainable business or something. Yes and no. I mean, there's probably something to be said about, like the feasibility, the tangibility of this industry, but you can't can't discount bullshit. You can't discount companies making really stupid decisions and really greedy one-upsmanship poor decisions. Like you're just stupid. Like this could have worked and you made it so that it did not work. And there's that story has yet to be told. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I didn't think it was all that adequate personally. But anyway, again, I thought that the bulk of the video, which is the skits and the your personal outlook and the survey you did and everything like that, that was all fantastic. And I thought the AI section was really good too. Yeah, I really liked the video a lot. Great job. But I would like to say the best video of the week. And you know what's so crazy? Looking at the all 7 videos I talked about just now, it has the most views, and it's only 15K. Only 15K. That's still pretty good. I'd kill for 15K right now. Damn. ceicocat, the incel to trans pipeline, and Inside Mari. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is insane. This is so incredible. I really, so it's a full description and kind of summation of Mari, but also talking about this phenomenon online of incel to trans pipeline and that experience. But then I'm trying to scroll through. It's about the 40-minute mark. And this goes for 20 minutes of limited, but still very evocative and creative and vulnerable, intense, candid, like the rawest trans story I've ever heard. Like I don't know if it's trans stories. And I even like her kind of talk at the end where it's like, I don't really need the labels, whatever, I just want to be me and just like be at peace at my life, and it was really like her life story really from this lens. But it's all animated. It's limited. It's like limited, but it's still like it's all animated. It's 20 minutes of like animation. And granted, yeah, it's like, but it's animation. You animated 20 minutes of your video. But then also like, the first half of it being very largely manga. So you're also animating that. You're not like doing a ton of like complicated stuff or whatever, but like, you really can, taking into consideration the composition. And I've edited manga before. I know how difficult and time consuming that is. It took a year of your life, I think. Yeah, something about it's like I had this idea. This took me 1 year to make. Like, oh my god. And just it is staggering. It is frankly insanely staggering, and I'm very happy that it's getting the reception it is. It completely deserves it. Completely. The analysis is so interesting, even with like having to go through spoilers, which like I didn't fully understand what happened. You explain it, but like I don't even know what happens at the end there. I'm just like, wait, so what? And like, what? It's not really that, or huh? But I think your points make complete sense. Um, and I could like really, I don't know. It feels like the crux of what you're talking about, the connection, the reason Insight Mari matters to this idea of in-silo trans pipeline is the author's note from volume 1. And I guess it does help bolster the point if you understand what this manga is and what it does, and what the story is really. Certainly. Even just not even I don't even know if you have to do the entire story. I mean, probably you didn't. I didn't. I haven't read it, so I think it's like 9 volumes or something. But it felt like it was a complete summation and everything. And but then talking about the author specifically, which totally feels like it like is so additive and valuable. And I had no idea it was the Flowers of Evil author, and that same author is also Blood on the Tracks. Like I really didn't know that. Not that you go into those stories, but it's just like so incredible. But then it's like I think it would be the best video of the week if it just hit the 40-minute mark and it's like, yeah, here's this connection with Insight Mari and Incelo Trans. I'm like, wow, that's pretty incredible. And then the 20 minutes of just like, here's me, here's everything that I went through and my thoughts and all of these different events, and then this like really emotional musical montage towards the end. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. Not even just that it animated. That story, I just don't feel like I've ever seen in a video essay. Maybe I just haven't watched the right video essays. I don't know. I just never have ever seen that. And that is so incredible. And then of course it ends incredibly like tactfully and just everything about it. I'm just left speechless, really. I mean, I don't really talk much when I watch video. What am I talking? I'm gonna talk during the video. No, but like, of course it was speechless. I didn't say anything. No, mentally speechless, like metaphorically. Like, I couldn't believe it. So compelling, so raw. I can't speak enough praises enough about it. Unbelievable idea and analysis, execution, personability. Nothing tops that. This is very hard to beat for the year. Not that this is a competition. And probably the past few years. I haven't seen every video of yours. I've seen a good number of them, and I've always really liked your videos. This is this is next level. It seriously is next freaking level. Unbelievable. And when you go from here, I just hope you enjoyed that and it got it out of your, you were able to kind of release that after something like, I saw the short that you posted as well about like, I thought about it and I didn't make it. And then I thought about it again and I didn't make, and then I made it. That sort of thing. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just kind of reeling from it still. Oof, really incredible shit. Really, and I can't imagine the comments either. Like, I'm sure the comments have been like, "Oh, it's not just video essays. What I call genuine art." Oh yeah, yeah. That's the other thing. It's the 20 minutes of animation. That's just unrivaled. It's unrivaled. I don't even know if I really. I mean, you obviously there's storytime YouTube like animators and stuff like that, but this is not on that level, I don't think, because I could tell that it was maybe other people helped you with it, but there was something about the style and aesthetic and artistic choices and the minimalistic choices that made it feel like it was just made on your own. Like you had help with the video in general, but like it was just you. And that was just what it was like. Yeah. Animated by you. Yeah, just you. That's fuck. Not even just trying to I'm trying to gas it as much as possible. This is seriously incredible. Really great job. Wow. Okay, that'll do it to this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.